Good afternoon, GCC family. Welcome back to Daily Devotional, and this is actually going to be one of two I'm going to do today because yesterday I actually forgot to record this, and so I got busy, had a busy day yesterday, and got caught up, got distracted, and completely forgot to record this one. So I'm going to do this one, and then I'm going to do one right after this as well. And so there's going to be two for the price of one today. All right. So we're going to continue in John chapter 9. We started it a couple of days ago, and remember the Pharisees were mad again because Jesus healed a blind man, right? That was born from birth blind, and Jesus healed him, and the Pharisees got upset because he healed him on the Sabbath again. And so we're going to pick it up in John chapter 9, verse 24. A second time they summoned the man who had been blind. Give glory to God by telling the truth, they said. We know this man is a sinner. He replied, whether he is a sinner or not, I don't know. One thing I do know, I was blind, but now I see. Then they asked him, what did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? He answered, I have told you already, and you did not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you want to become his disciples too? Then they hurled insults at him and said, you are this fellow's disciple? We are disciples of Moses. We know that God spoke to Moses. But as for this fellow, we don't even know where he comes from. The man answered, now that is remarkable. You don't know where he comes from, yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners. He listens to the godly person who does his will. Nobody has ever heard of opening the eyes of a man born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing. To this they replied, you were steeped in sin at birth. How dare you lecture us? And they threw him out. Jesus heard that they had thrown him out. And when he found him, he said, do you believe in the Son of Man? Who is he, sir? The man asked, tell me so that I may believe in him. Jesus said, you have now seen him. In fact, he is the one speaking to you. Then the man said, Lord, I believe, and he worshiped him. Jesus said, for judgment I have come into the world so that the blind will see, and those who see will become blind. Some Pharisees who were with him heard him say this and asked, what, are we blind too? Jesus said, if you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains. Okay, so we have this man who is questioned again by the Pharisees. They bring him again. They didn't like what he was saying the first time, but they want to question him again, and they're asking, tell the truth. Give God the glory by telling the truth, they say. And they say, we know this man is a sinner, and they're saying, how did this happen, basically? What did he do to you? And this man who is blind, he's just saying, look, he's from God. He's telling him he is from God, and he even asked them, he says, I've told you already. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you want to become his disciples? And they get really mad about that. They get upset about that, and they are really not happy about that. And, this man, he is testifying to what Jesus did in his life. And the Pharisees don't like it. And they're upset about it, and they're mad, and they get so mad that they kick him out of the synagogue, which is a place very similar to church where you would come and you would worship and you would learn about God, and they kick him out. They banish him from there. Jesus finds this man. Jesus finds him again, and now he's helped him see physically. And now he helps him see spiritually, because in verse 39, it said, Jesus said, for judgment I have come into this world so that the blind will see, and those who see will become blind. And then the Pharisees, so he's talking the spiritual blindness now. And I think, when you've lived that, when you were spiritually blind, you understand this really clear, because I remember from my own personal experience what it means to be spiritually blind, where you just don't see God. You don't see him. You don't acknowledge it. You just don't see what people who know God see. You see differently than that. And it's a spiritual blindness. And when you meet Jesus, it is like he's healed your eyes and you see things different. You see people different. You see the world different. You see circumstances different. You see everything differently in those times. You see your sin different. You see your salvation different. You see everything different. There is a spiritual blindness that takes place. And the Pharisees, when Jesus says this, they hear him. And it says in verse 40, some Pharisees who were with him heard him say this and asked, "What are we blind to?" And Jesus' answer, "If you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But now that you claim you can see, your guilt remains." Meaning that when we do become spiritually, when we can see spiritually, we see much more clear our sin. And it's more of a we realize our sin is wrong. Before we didn't realize our sin is wrong. We probably, I remember thinking that, I'm just doing what I feel like, and it feels right, and it's my choice and all these things, and you think you're doing the right thing sometimes when you're sinning, but once you meet Jesus and clearly your sin is wrong, he's saying here that your guilt remains. And these Pharisees, they knew about sin, they knew about these things, they knew, and so he was saying, because you say because you've been taught these things, your guilt remains. And that's a challenging word, that's harsh. And I think it's needed, though, and we need to remember that today, too. And so the question today, the takeaway today is one question, really, is can you see today? Can you see today? Can you see clearly today spiritually? Because we know Jesus can heal spiritually blindness as well, but sometimes I think, it's easy. There's certain things that make us blind in our lives. Circumstances can challenge our clarity of our sight when we see. And we talked a while ago, Grace Church, about seeing through faith, right? And this is pretty much what we're talking about here today, is seeing things through faith. And I think one of the things, though, that helps, that really not helps but hurts us, that really makes us see unclearly and challenges us with our spiritual sight. And I think this was probably for the Pharisees, was pride. And the Pharisees had a lot of pride, and I think pride is a dangerous thing. And feeling you deserve something, feeling you deserve certain things, feeling you that that you deserve more than others, that you're better than others, things like that. And they held themselves very prideful, the Pharisees. And I think today I just want to challenge you and search yourself, search your heart today. Sometimes pride can sneak in, and it can cause us to not see clearly. And so my encouragement to you today is search your heart and then give it to God. Let him remove that pride again. Let him give you that spiritual sight back and help you see again. Church, have a great day. I'll be back in just a moment with another devotional today. Have a good day. God bless you guys.